Well, here I am by my Minibeds-on-Plastic experimental garden once again. This video is a continuation of yesterday's video, the previous video in this series, in which I showed you all the weeds that were in here, all the overgrown weeds. I took several Whizbang garden cart loads out of here, and it's now clear enough for me to rototill. That's my plan. I'm going to rototill this area since I have a tiller that I don't use much anymore, but I have it and it's stored away and I hauled it out. I'll show it to you here in a minute, but I'm going to rototill this section, and then let the soil get rained on and settle down a little before laying out the plastic. Now, one thing I want to show you is that along my right side here, you can see a row of strawberries. I'm going to leave those now until I get a crop off of them next spring. Then I'll remove them. One thing I want to show you here is I've marked out the with these plant stakes that I have one row between these two stakes here of mini beds. I should tell you, I'm going to maintain the row spacing of the mini beds, the in-row spacing, the walkway spacing, the mini bed size that I settled on and that I explain in my Minibeds-on-Plastic report number 1. There's no reason to change it. The spacings are very satisfactory. I'm happy with them. So anyway, I got one row there. I've got a 20-inch walkway there. I have another row of mini beds will go here. You can see those stakes, and another walkway, another row of mini beds, and then we have the strawberries. I hope the 3 rows that I'm going to have here will have 9 mini beds in them. So I'll have 27 new mini beds. Here comes my neighbor. I'll give him a wave. See that nice dog? He's got a nice German Shepherd. So, okay, that's the story so far. I'll show you my tiller when I get it out here. So here's my tiller. It's a BCS Harvester 722. I bought this quite a few years ago when I was growing a lot of garlic on the field next to me here. It was a deduction. I could justify it. I was making money. The garlic powder that I made from the garlic I grew paid for this. And this is the second tiller I've owned in my life. The first one was a Troy-built tiller that I bought back around 1982. And that was back when the Troy-built tillers were made in Troy, New York. I'd been married a couple of years. We bought this land. First thing we did was put a garden up here. We lived in town in an apartment, and we would come up and tend our garden. I built a shed, and I put my Troy-built, not this BCS, but I put that nice Troy-built horse in the shed, and we used that for a lot of years. And I bought, those were remarkable tillers. I was a chimney sweep. I had a side hustle, you could say, as a chimney sweep back then, and I had a customer whose chimney I cleaned, and he had a Troy-built rototiller. He was out tilling his garden, and when I cleaned his chimney, and I asked him about it, and he told me. And this guy was a machinist, and he was kind of one of these guys who's into motors and machines and stuff like that. He knew good quality, and he just raved about how well made, how well engineered and machined the parts, the internal parts, the whole machine, that Troy-built tiller, when they were made in Troy, New York. That's no longer the case. I believe Troy-builts are made by MTD. The quality is not what it once was. All they've got now is the name. They may be decent, but they're not what they were. Well, anyway, this harvester, I'm pretty happy with it. If you buy a BCS tiller, my advice is get yourself a Honda engine on it. I think I paid extra, if I remember correctly, to get that Honda. And Hondas, they start so well. This thing started on 3 pulls. I've had it start on 1 pull setting a long time. Well, that didn't take too long, and it was fun. I made 2 passes, Could have gotten by with one, but I made two. And what I'm going to do now is let that settle. Hopefully we'll get some rains here, some fall rains. I'll let that settle. Then if I need to rake it a little to level it up here and there, I will. And I'll pick off any big rocks. And on a very still day, I'll lay down my silo cover plastic. As I was tilling here, it occurred to me that somebody might wonder why I don't have that good quality Troy-Bilt tiller anymore. And I wish I did, because I honestly do believe it was a better machine than this BCS. And I say a lot. Sorry about that, folks. The reason I don't have that Troy-Bilt is because I sold it. I needed the money, and my garden wasn't that big. Back when my kids were little, when I was trying to make a living in the building trades, and my wife didn't work, we decided she could stay home, be a full-time mom. Things were tight, and we still had a garden, but it got smaller. I was consumed with trying to make a living. I was self-employed. I was lining up the next job, finishing jobs. It was pretty intense for some years there, and money was tight, so I sold it. But I'm happy with the harvester, the 722 BCS harvester. It's a good machine. It hasn't given me any problems, and I've had it a long time. I wish I could tell you how long it's been. Probably 15 years. Don't use it like I did, but it's always been dependable. All right, folks, there we go. That's a little story about rototillers and Minibeds-on-Plastic and getting this spot ready. Sure looks a lot better without all those weeds, doesn't it? Yeah.